Well, welcome in, Paladins fans. Happy Thursday, and welcome into week number 2 of the PPC. Hope you all are staying safe out there. My name is Dolson. Trensiq is with me to join me in talking about Europe, our first matchup of the day, and then we'll be in NA together later on. Trensiq, how you feeling over there?
Feeling pretty good. I just realized how much closer I am to my camera than you, so I might have to zoom out because
I got that wide lens, right? I'm sure.
I don't want to make anyone. Don't want to make anyone uncomfortable on the broadcast, but no, starting in Europe, and I'm definitely happy to be here because we've been talking about how we think this might be one of the closer regions, getting into finally see all these teams going against each other after the group stages, and you can see the game today, Flashpoint versus ChromaSpace, Dave.
Yeah, and that'll be our first matchup of the day, and then we will be broadcasting, I think, probably the top 2 teams in Brazil between Mandrakes and Triunfo. Obviously, some organizations have moved in and picked those 2 teams up, so the names will be different at some point moving forward, but for this week, Mandrakes University versus Triunfo, and then North America, we got Flashpoint up against Team Project. So I think you look at Brazil and NA, I think those are potentially the top 2 teams in those regions going up against one another. But here are your EU standings. D69 and Rosvet, literally the top 2 teams in this region. They will be playing off-stream, maybe broadcast at a later day. ChromaSpace undefeated up to this point. So Flashpoint EU, they're looking to get on the board here, Trensiq, but it's going to be a tough matchup here against ChromaSpace.
Yeah, for sure, especially how good ChromaSpace, I feel, looked before. I think neppö and Adium were star players last week in that game versus All Business. And All Business, they really fought back, but the games that ChromaSpace won, I felt like they looked really dominant. So for them moving forward here into this game against Flashpoint, I'd expect to have to see a good performance from neppö and Adium, and for Flashpoint's sake, they gotta hope they don't have to pull the Throner in again. They have no ProsperLogic is gonna be able to be there for every single one of the maps.
That's right, and you know, Dethroner's a great player, but I mean, ProsperLogic is kind of one of the linchpins, I think, of this Flashpoint roster. So losing him, regardless of who you fill his position with, is never going to be a good thing. So we hope no connection issues or computer issues on his side here today. Serpent Beach is going to be map number 1. I mean, obviously, standings-wise, Trensiq, ChromaSpace, technically 1 week in. They're undefeated at 1 win, 0 losses. Flashpoint 0 for 1. Obviously, some issues last week that potentially moved them into that position. Even though it's such a small data pool, do you still think that that's accurate? Do you have ChromaSpace above Flashpoint in this matchup?
I think so. I think I just like how ChromaSpace have been playing. I think their synergy's been pretty solid, and that's one thing that they're going to have, that most teams will have under Flashpoint. Flashpoint should be more together like that, but the way Chrome has been playing, I'm happy with that, and I think they should be able to put up against Flashpoint, especially with how they looked against All Business last week. I feel once they almost got reverse swept, but being able to recollect themselves and come back after losing 2 maps straight, I think is pretty important.
Yeah. Stopping the reverse sweep sometimes is almost as hard as completing the reverse sweep, especially when you get down to that final map. Not surprising, though, seeing Viktor banned out here first, not only because it's Flashpoint, but I think we've seen plenty of Viktor in these matches over the last few weeks. Rom taking a backseat as well. Furia, not surprising either, I don't think. Evie maybe is a touch surprising to me, but here on Serpent Beach, I think one of her better maps, especially with mobility being so key. I think Flashpoint have done well, especially with, I believe, 3 out of the 5 are still on controller, or maybe 2 out of the 5. I might have it flip-flopped.
I think it's 3.
At any rate, there's some players
the only
still
PC players to think skeppi and stormavatar, I believe, should be the only PC players. But again, also not surprised about that Evie ban at all, because console. A lot of console teams have been banning that Evie because it's difficult sometimes to track that wormhole. Regardless of the bans, though, I think both teams are very happy with what they have right now. Jenos, Ying on the side of ChromaSpace. True support, I think we're going to see a lot in the European region. It seems like it's kind of settling into be what they like to play. Could we even be focusing Lens Ying potentially if they want that extra healing, and Androxus is great. Flashpoint are also getting a hit scan off tank, a hit scan backline. Vivian has one of the highest win rates this patch in casual games, so, and also has been great in competitive too. Having that character plus the pressure from a Ruckus, I think is huge for Flashpoint.
They're going to pick up some more hit scan with Khan here, so double damagey off tanks are going to presumably round out the Flashpoint frontline here, unless they elect for maybe a triple frontline. Io is going to lock in their healer, and I think Io is one, or a healer that we've started to see Trensiq in a situational scenario, but it's almost more team-based. Some teams seem to have really liked this Io and others have not quite gotten to that point where they're ready to pick her up.
I mean, it is double off tag. It's where she used to be really good. You get this double off tag, you throw Luna on the point, and then you just get really aggressive. But ChromaSpace is just going to run away. They don't have a tank. Who are you going to fight? This is something that Europe has been kind of playing a lot recently, and just playing this kind of pokey tank through sustain and just out-damage the other team. And this is both kind of ideologies of how you play the game currently crashing into each other right now. It's going to be interesting, especially on Serpent, a map where I think both, honestly, ChromaSpace have so much vertical mobility. I feel like they have so many ways they can push the cart.
Yeah, wait, wasn't focusing Lens Ying paired with the healer like the Flashpoint special last week, but before the issues arose? So ChromaSpace obviously picking something up there. You're right, though. I mean, you have double off tank for Flashpoint, just by nature a slightly larger health pool, but more sustain, inarguably, I think, for ChromaSpace between the Jenos and the Ying. So two different ideologies, as you point out, are going to be clashing here in game number 1 on Serpent Beach. I think Flashpoint, though, with that hit scan, picking up the Strix as well, if they're able to lock down some of that mobility from ChromaSpace, the Androxus, the Maeve, the BK, you get locked down, I mean, you're going to have a tough time staying alive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that it's going to be hard for Flashpoint to stop them from pressuring, but they're just going to have to stay on top of each other. But who's capping then, right? If they're all protecting each other and keeping people alive, literally there's no one to cap. Maybe the Jenos in the back line, but then one person rotates away and he won't be able to sustain on point for very long. But Serpent Beach is going to have to be a map where they just get all this room around them, find a place for the Bomb King to cleave them up top, and if they can force them off of that high ground, then they might be able to have a respite where they can actually get some cap time.
Well, let's see if it does end up remaining focusing Lens Ying, and it is. And you saw, I think, when ProsperLogic was playing this Ying last week in more of a damage role, he was pretty consistently like top 1, 2, 3 damage in the game. I mean, that is a sneaky amount of damage that talent brings to the table.
Yeah, agreed. And also coming with that extra healing too. It's a big deal, and that ultimate will let them get so aggressive when they want to be. But ultimates aren't on the table for now, and they're going to have to give up a lot of space. Skeppi finds the first kill on neppö.
And we were concerned about that. If the backline hit scan is able to just kind of lock down some of the mobility that ChromaSpace has, they might have a tough time. And that large health pool obviously playing an advantage as Flashpoint have moved themselves onto the point first. They're going to move the Ruckus down there, 42% for them before they back themselves off for some healing. Adium on this Ying, I think, has a big role to play this game. ProsperLogic from downtown picked off by Ovimm, so the Bomb King plucking out some damage early on here, and nobody on the point just yet from ChromaSpace. You almost get the sense that they want to win a fight outright before moving back to the point.
Yeah, but they're just going to chip them away. They just don't want to get on it because of all that damage that could be there potentially, and Flashpoint are just going to keep dropping Luna on to stop them from getting anything. And look, they don't get the kills, and people are just going to die trying to get any objective time.
1-for-1 trade. Trensiq, Coireal traded out. Not all is lost for ChromaSpace, though. Still have Nelubka healing a little bit on that Ying, as well as doing some good damage, but he doesn't have that much health, gets run down, but somehow stays alive. Finally, Skeppi now on the triple kill, locks down 3 members of ChromaSpace. Flashpoint, they're poised here to take point number 1. Maybe one final chance for ChromaSpace to move themselves back in. Skeppi holding down this high ground here. Dash right on through from Adium, so the overtime timer is reset here. neppö, he's rejoined the fight, shut down Skeppi. Reversal is up, overtime melting down. No worries, though, as Ovimm on that Bomb King have retaken the point.
Skeppi was the perfect target, and this con is not going to be able to do much of anything against Bomb King and Androxus. Ultimate's already charged and coming out. Will kill Goodlad on the side, and ChromaSpace retake complete control, and they want to get more.
They just needed a little bit more time, Flashpoint, but suddenly 93% for ChromaSpace. Kills on their side, but more importantly, the zone. And ChromaSpace, they come back from 99 to 40 or 50 down, and they end up taking point number 1. That raw sustain and enough damage to turn it around played a big difference maker there.
Let me just say, shoutouts to Ovimm on Bomb King. Something I never thought I would say. He's proving himself to be a hyperflex right now, and this comp that ChromaSpace has is proven to be pretty potent too. I will say, ChromaSpace have the right priorities. They pushed up, when they retook that point, they got the retouch and then hard focus Skeppi. They knew that you can't ignore Vivian. They had to get rid of the threat, and they did, and it opened things up for them completely to take that point.
Ooh. And that's a nice double snipe there from Coireal. Neppö turns around the damage onto GoodLad. Suddenly in the carry corner, 2 members left for Flashpoint. Make it 1, make it none, as Adium finds a double kill on the back end of a double through time and space, and then a pick from Neppö. His payload looks near unstoppable here with 1 minute and 28 seconds left. Maybe Flashpoint will be able to touch a toe out of base one final time. 3 ultimates on their side. ChromaSpace still charging up a couple. Overpower is ready for GoodLad if needed. Uses the battle shout early on in this fight. Neppö's just going to dash his way back out of this one. Illusory rift from Nelubka, but not enough to save the life of Ovimm here. Losing that Bomb King, very important. So a small win here for Flashpoint as ChromaSpace back off.
Look at this pressure from up top by Prosper, too. He's all of them stuck in the corner. They're all so low. And they go down one after another. Adium manages to get away because of the damage reduction, and that's what happens when you can't control that upper ground. Flashpoint played this perfect war of attrition, just slowly pushing them away, bleeding them out. Then they got low, they gave up that high ground, and Prosper just walks in uncontested above them. They still have time to get another push, but they did spend a few ultimates, and I don't know what else they'd be willing to commit to actually make this happen. Prosper's in a solid position too, and I think he might have to be the first. Either they take down him or they take down the carry corner, and it looks like they want him first.
Oh. Yeah, they answered that question for you real quick as Prosper deleted by Nelubka and Neppö, answering with one himself. Adium trying to escape the grasp of Trensiq, but unable to do so. But what you've lost in the meantime is one of your 2 off-tanks, and GoodLad was nowhere near that payload, so ChromaSpace, they take a breather for about 30 seconds there, Trensiq, and then just a midnight really kicks down that door.
I'm both happy that this is working and really, really sad that this is working, because it's great to see some creativity coming out, these new comps happening, but if anybody in my games, in my casuals, is watching these streams, they're like, we don't need a tank. What do you mean? ChromaSpace won on Serpent Beach against Flashpoint without any. And that's going to have to be something I'm going to have to deal with from this point on, but the way that they're playing it, it really does take a lot of coordination to play without a tank. You have to understand the game, I think, really well, and the way that they're playing their push and pulls, I think, has been great so far. They're not taking so much pressure that they feel like they need a tank. They're just kiting them out and only taking fights that they're sure they can win and forcing them to go through a wall of damage to get there.
Well, you're going to find an overpower on Ovimm. Despite not the instant execute, Skeppi easily finishes off that kill, but it's still ChromaSpace that have found themselves point control here with 30%. There's a small flank here from Adium. Trensiq down, very low here, is going to get some good healing from the double healers on his side. ProsperLogic finds the shot onto Neppö. 2 members down now from ChromaSpace. Flashpoint with a numbers advantage. Move themselves in as GoodLad drops down Coireal. Ovimm back from base, back to respawn. You go. Nelubka still up front, poking away some damage. But this is where we saw Flashpoint last time, Trensiq. They got to 99%, but couldn't convert.
And the same person who touched is in the same position. On the right side, Adium on the Maeve. He'll get it and get out, but they have to rush it now. They have to find a kill if they want to make it work, and it looks like everyone's disengaging just in time. GoodLad's
used both of his cooldowns, but no matter as Ovimm and Neppö go down. Flashpoint, they're able to make good on this setup here and grab themselves point number 1 on Serpent Beach. So now the question is, you look at their composition, you look at what Flashpoint have, how tough is this push going to be for them?
It's going to be hard, because it's going to be full chaos. Anybody on their team can drop down, kill someone, and leave. I mean, other than maybe Jenos, but he's not going to be the one committing that hard. All these DPSs are going to do whatever they want, more or less. You can already see this aggression, but maybe they're not playing the high ground as much as they could. Only Ovimm there now, getting poked away. But I love how they bait them down, they bait them in, get some damage, and run away. And I don't know what's happening with Coireal on the side, but this aggression from ChromaSpace is huge right now.
Trensiq has to burn some mobility, but it gets him out to safety, so no kills found just there. ChromaSpace and the ultimate economy are winning, and Midnight, one of those, is going to push things back on their side just a little bit more. Skeppi under duress from Adium, just needs a few more shots as one of those Sentinels still remaining. But some good healing and mobility get him out. I think he was down to about double-digit health there. Skeppi stays alive. Neppö through the reversal, drops, doesn't find any damage as ProsperLogic from range, cleans up the Androxus. And I think Neppö has had good moments on the Andro this game, Trensiq, but has sort of been flash in the pan. Nice double kill there from Trensiq, ProsperLogic as well, getting in on the action one more time. What have you made of the Andro up to this point?
I think it's been all right, but I think it's just so hard for him to commit. because they have so much burst damage. He can only just poke from long range, and Maeve and Bomb King have that crazy burst damage. They're going to be the ones getting the kills,
Nice.
but really, neppö's going to be able to show up when he wants to with a perfect flank up top.
Yeah, I think that's reverse caster's curse, right? I mean, we're saying if we need a little bit more out of him, and it happens right in front of our eyes, and that's going to give ChromaSpace a good shot here with 30 seconds left, and the respawn timer, not quite the biggest issue with the long walk back from anyone from Flashpoint who does end up dropping. 3 ultimates on their side, overpower, potentially the most important with 24 seconds left. Ovimm caught down here onto the low ground, knocked back. Trensiq dives in, doesn't even end up finding the kill. Gets traded out instead. ProsperLogic finally is able to pick off Coireal here, but neppö back in base and respawning, and the ever-living Bomb King. This is an aggressive poppy bomb forward, and with 2, potentially 3, potentially 4 members down from Flashpoint, this is looking like point number 3 for ChromaSpace.
I think that moment of POV we had on the con puts together why this comp works so hard. What do you do? He's getting chipped from the side by an Androxus. There's a Bomb King blowing up over his shield in front of him. A Ying is just walking at him, holding left click. Literally, what do you do? There's so much pressure coming from everywhere that you can't really deal with it. Having the IO, I think, is a decent way to kind of offset a little bit of the pressure, because you feel like you don't have to force yourself to go into the open, but there's so much damage on the other side that Luna can't even survive, so you're going to have to send someone there in the first place. And you can see how well they're shutting down the tanks. Ruckus, Trensiq is below Khan in damage after damage nerf, so I would say Khan's really not supposed to be that high up in the charts anymore.
I agree. It's been a tough few engagements for Trensiq on that Ruckus. Some moments just inches away from working out. Maybe we'll open a door for his team here through time and space just to try to peel, but doesn't find any kills from ChromaSpace. Instead, 2 members down. neppö and Ovimm, 2 of the 3 damage dealers now missing for ChromaSpace. Still have an illusory rift, but it looks like Nelubka just going to trade himself out in order to rejoin his team a little bit quicker. Flashpoint, in the meantime, have been fighting from the point the entire time. ChromaSpace don't get a single tick in Flashpoint. In one fell swoop, they take point number 2.
ChromaSpace can't use a single ultimate because of overpower. Manpower is so important in this composition. If you lose anybody, they just have so much more of a health pool. You need everyone alive to do damage. Lose one person to an overpower, you can't retake. 4 ultimates just held for ChromaSpace, unable to be used, and no self-preservation instinct for Luna up top. We're getting stared at by an Androxus. We'll have to see how ChromaSpace can figure out how to hold this, and I think aggression's going to be the name of the game.
I'll call that plenty aggressive as Ovimm poppy bombs himself forward and deletes stormavatar from the game, at least for 5 or so more seconds. Turns around a nice double kill onto iGoodlad, and Kresnik, I think that was probably the perfect time. You can't win the mid fight. You still have all your ultimates online. There's still a minute and a half left in this one. Might as well burn them now and try to secure this defense early on and recharge up those ults.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's any reason not to have that set up like that, so you can get it recharged back again. And still, a Cursed Arm being held for now, but I think they'd be willing to spend that too. I think neppö's been doing a good job finding poke, and wouldn't be too shocked to see him not getting it. A little bit of over-aggression by Trensiq. You can see how far he was split from the rest of his team. ChromaSpace immediately realized that, turn and burn, and now they have a really strong defensive position here, and here the enemy spawn.
Now, I am curious. I mean, this is a ChromaSpace defense for those potentially confused by what's going on. Flashpoint trying to get the cart moving, but it's just moving backwards towards its spawn point. Think back to that mid-fight, though, a little bit. I mean, that was a clean sweep there from Flashpoint. Is that just the power of when their ultimates connect properly, the mid-fights can be that easy for them?
Just overpower. They didn't even need anything else. Just the overpower connecting, I think, was more than enough. Just taking one person out of the no-tank comp is way too important for the other team to be able to deal with. So they have to find a way to get rid of the con before it can hit the overpower, or just at least trade one more person for it. But everyone else on Flashpoint is playing so defensive in that situation. No one can do anything. They can't kill this. They can't kill skeppi because he's all the way on their high ground.
That's true. Nobody to trade out there, and Flashpoint have charged up 4 out of 5 ultimates. Skeppi will get that Vivian ultimate online soon enough. This is actually tense moments for ChromaSpace here. If you lose this one, you're tied up. They have 5 ultimates, though, on their side. neppö and Ovimm go down. ProsperLogic traded out, but That's easy peasy there for Flashpoint. They roll that one in. Despite going down 2-0 early on, they have tied up this game, and we're looking at a 0.7.
Maybe that was intentional, trying to get rid of that comeback mechanic. You never know. That's how they come back after that first fire. Give Adim a chance to retouch, but no. It's good to have the comeback mechanic on, but you always want a safety net if something does go wrong in the fight. Still, though, they have 5 ultimates. They gotta hope to actually use them this time. If they can find some way to kill Goodlad when he goes for the overpower, they might have a shot. And honestly, other than overpower, Flashpoint don't really have a lot of good ultimates. Hexafire, I think, gets a little bit more value against the composition of ChromaSpace because there's no real ways to mitigate that damage. No shield that can go up in front of Trensiq, no siphon. It's just going to stop you. Reversal, if anything, but all that does is force you to cancel it. They're playing a lot more careful now as Goodlad comes in, and he might be overextended for this, actually, right in front of Ovimm.
Overpower is good, but he gets deleted before he's able to turn around to kill. A dream start here for ChromaSpace as Goodlad and skeppi cleaned up for ChromaSpace against Flashpoint. Good long-range shot there from Ovimm to get rid of stormavatar as well. They just need to turn around and touch a toe onto the point here, but ProsperLogic just zoning around the backside. Nelubka finally cleans that one up. No comeback mechanic with ChromaSpace on the point.
I don't know why ProsperLogic was over there. He had to kite away as quickly as he could, but not enough now. Hexa used to stop Ovimm, but it actually doesn't do anything. He just trades in the back. They might still have a touch.
Trensiq has to double dash through. Void Grip, not enough to stop that one. Coireal is dropped now as well. Flashpoint, a sudden resurgence here from them. No ultimates in the game. A couple big shots from ProsperLogic. Clean up 2 members of ChromaSpace. Nelubka just trying to counteract as much of that point time as possible. This is a dream scenario now for Flashpoint. As skeppi has moved his way in, found a double kill. 90% now on the point. A dash could be in range for ChromaSpace. Down he crashes, but not in time. Flashpoint, they come back from the depths, and they take game number 1.
I don't know what Ovimm was doing. The aggressive, I understand kind of the aggressive King Bomb, because you don't think you can stop them from touching, but if they had pulled everyone back and just hid around the point, they could have burned whoever went to touch, burn Luna, use ultimates to stop more people from coming into support, but he goes in. He goes in, it's not enough.
I don't know, man. I mean, if that connects, the King Bomb connects, maybe something looks differently there for you, but it looked like a perfect start there. Maybe by all metrics was a perfect start to that mid-fight for ChromaSpace. They get the overpower, stay alive through it, get the kill onto Goodlad as well. And then maybe just some mispositioning there from ChromaSpace turns that one around. Ovimm did have 10 kills, did have 13 assists, but second highest amount of deaths in the game at 11. ProsperLogic with 12, but was technically positive with 15 kills on his side. So it was kind of the battle between double healer / triple DPS up against double off tank with an IO, and Flashpoint, they end up winning the day.
I think the IO made a pretty big difference too, because not only the damage reduction from Goddess Blessing saving people who were getting pressured, but having that cap time all the time while being able to also keep the tanks protecting the rest of the team, like Goodlad right there next to skeppi. I think that was kind of a huge part of it, because they couldn't find anybody. When they were trying to collapse on someone to make that numbers advantage even, they just weren't able to find it, because there was always someone there protecting, or Trensiq was diving into their backline.
And I think, you know, skeppi was absolutely a name that we were able to say a few times throughout this game. But I think him and ProsperLogic, that 1-2 punch of Vivian plugging away some damage, ProsperLogic cleaning up the kill, or vice versa, that's such a potent combination. I mean, a Vivian will melt that health bar, and then a quick snapshot from someone like ProsperLogic will finish off the kill. And though this was a close 7-point game, there towards the end, you know, the Strix started to hit its shots more consistently, and I think that was, amongst other things, a big reason Flashpoint was able to get the win.
Yeah, Strix is still, I think, really, really strong, and people aren't picking him as much in some of the other regions. Just having that burst damage in your pocket when you're good enough to get quickscope headshots. 1800, most characters are in danger, especially against a composition that's running no tanks. No one on that team can withstand more than 2 shots. No, literally, no one on that team can withstand more than 2 shots. I was trying to find an excuse, but I couldn't find a single one.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're playing a Vivian or a Strix, and you see no tanks on the enemy team, I mean, you're a little nervous, because that means they probably have a lot of damage. But also, if you're protected and positioned well enough, probably have some easy kills coming your way. Frozen Guard is map number 2 here for us. A map that, Trensiq, we really haven't seen Frozen Guard all that much. Ice Mines has kind of been the favorite of the 2 chilly maps, but Frozen Guard nonetheless, still long sight lines, still a slow map. That's where we're headed for game number 2.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's one of the less preferred wide maps in general. People kind of like Ascension Peak, they like Bazaar, Band in a set. And Frozen Guard is kind of like a fallback, but maybe they just don't feel like they want to play on Ascension Peak against them, bring them to Frozen, get first pick on it potentially. This was a map that Chroma did really well in last week against All Business, so maybe putting them on second pick could kind of knock them off their guard, and starting with a Strix, I'd say for Flashpoint, especially with that Knessa band, is pretty strong. They've kind of gained, they just monopolized this sniper position.
Yeah. And on the defense specifically, I mean, in that free high ground right outside of your base, plenty of sight lines there. Usually plays kind of along that long wall outside of the point, not towards the edge of the map, but on the other side, just plugging away some good shots where you're able to find it. So I like it. I mean, it obviously worked on Serpent Beach, and pairing it with the Vivian and the Khan one more time. I mean, it was sloppy. It was a 7-point slugfest of a game, but they're running back the same exact, at least 3 champions that worked for them in game 1.
Well, with the same champions band, there is a limited pool you can pick from, I think, if you want to play those hit scan champions. You don't really want to play Koga on a map like this, I would say. He's all right, but I think since the nerfs to his self-sustain, you'd prefer some of the more consistent hit scan champions. Double flank on the side of Chroma, and I think that means they want to play characters that can get a little bit more pressure, but still stay alive. The Ovimm died a lot in the Bomb King, but he was kind of the only one who could get pressured. He was the only one that was easy to kill. Now they're giving them no free kills. Lian also will be a little bit easier to survive too, contrary to the Bomb King. Enlightenment for the damage reduction and just having that crazy burst damage, but that's, I'm assuming Ovimm Lian that has to go up against a Strix and a Vivian. That's a very difficult matchup for Ovimm to have to go through.
I'll say on the flip side, though, if you're Strix or Vivian, you have 2 very mobile champions in the Maeve and the Evie that are gonna try to make life a little bit more difficult for you here on Frozen Guard. Game number 2 between Flashpoint and ChromaSpace about to kick off. 7 points in game number 1, and Flashpoint, they come back from 2-0 behind to take game number 1, and we'll look to double up here, take a 2-0 lead here in this set. But to kind of pull vault off of that point I just made, are you at all nervous if you're Skeppi and ProsperLogic that there's too much mobility in a Maeve and an Evie combination for you to track down?
I think it just, whoever Trensiq isn't playing with, I think would be a little bit more nervous, right? But Trensiq will probably be playing right next to one of the DPSs, I'm assuming Skeppi, and just hard protecting. There's nothing else he's going to be doing, looking to shoot the flankers that are pressuring them and go for overpowers that can get cleaned up on. And Prosper, he should be a little bit worried, but it really just comes down to a skill matchup. If he's able to hit the soaring Evie, the blinking Evie, the prowling Maeve that are trying to pressure him, then it won't be as bad, but looks like they're going to play this buddy system, actually. Both hit scan DPSs against this wall, protecting each other, and if they both look at that flanker for 1 second, they're not going to get much of anything done.
Well, ChromaSpace, because of the positioning of Flashpoint, have gotten some free percentage on the point here. 42% is where it'll stall out for the moment. ProsperLogic playing back along that back wall where we're used to seeing the snipers play on this map. Lian for ChromaSpace off to the right-hand side of the screen, so ProsperLogic's got to make sure check both of those sides, but Ovimm has just farmed this point capture. 60%, first blood, finally. Ovimm cleans up Trensiq now. Both of the hit scans for Flashpoint, a little bit less protected. Goodlad, the same goes for him as well. Back behind his shield he goes. 69% for ChromaSpace is where the point capture will stall just for the moment. They haven't taken quite as much of advantage of the dead Khan as I might figured they would. Ovimm finally finds the kill. There you go. Down goes Prosper. Down goes Skeppi. Stormavatar trades one back, but at 96%, ChromaSpace will not be denied. Point number 1 takes to the board.
The pressure from Ovimm and Adium was huge. They just chipped them away, and as soon as they saw an opening, someone not looking, they both pushed. You can't hide from both at the same time, so there's no way you're not going to go down in that point. ChromaSpace. Now, I love this. This is something that I used to do. Everyone backs up to hold the cart. Ovimm's trying to get some pressure, but if everyone stands on the cart, you extend your credit advantage just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And pressure at this point doesn't really matter, because you're not going to be able to get through that choke alone. You're going to need your full team there. Plus, look how extended the entirety of Flashpoint is, too, and I guess it was a bit of a bait. Ovimm doesn't know they're so close, and Skeppi picks him off.
Yeah, Flashpoint aren't looking to give up any ground here, and they're drawing the line in the snow just under this gateway. Skeppi is able to chunk down one. But this is kind of where I think Frozen Guard, it's really these two choke points, right here underneath this archway, and then the one entering the enemy team's base. I mean, that's where Frozen Guard pushes are won or lost. Ultimates, though, starting to get exchanged both ways. Whirlwind out from Flashpoint. Not enough, though, to keep them alive as Skeppi and Stormavatar both fall. Goodlad drops the Dome Shield and is able to trade out one kill on a neppö. The Trensiq falls for the third member of Flashpoint. ProsperLogic maybe will be able to buy his team a little bit of time to get back and respawn, but Goodlad staggered out 10 or so seconds. ChromaSpace, this cart's moving quickly, Chris.
Prosper thought he could get away. That position might have just been too aggressive. Not having Strix damage here is a really big deal, especially considering how quickly it can kill the flankers. Only Skeppi doing damage, and look at this positioning by Adium. He's holding this top left, causing that pincer, and now they have to force people to the left just to push him off.
Yeah, Trensiq gets forced all the way out, and neppö, easy work on that one. Gets rid of Trensiq. Skeppi gray screened for just a little bit longer. This is a good amount of trades, though, coming out for Flashpoint. Nelubka pulls one back. He's on the Furia this game. ProsperLogic back in base. 5 or so more seconds. Goodlad dancing back and forth behind his shield. Payload so close to going through here, and with 30 seconds left, Flashpoint, the reinforcements are in. ChromaSpace, maybe one final shot.
Depends on what ultimates they're willing to spend here on Chroma. Only Enlightenment's actually up, and I think they're going to have to hold on to it because they want everything they can for the next mid-fight, especially looking at an overpower. Just poking for now, and they're still doing the same split, but who's going to deal with them on the top right?
That was a nice little bit of healing from Nelubka to keep the Evie alive here. 3 seconds left, so you're going to have to move into contest range, which Ovimm is able to do. Inflame and Enlightenment both up. neppö getting run down, but blinks up and over. ProsperLogic misses the quick shot on the snipe, turns around some damage, but Ovimm, the Enlightenment's waiting. Stormavatar from range has found the kill onto the Lian, who just cleaned up his teammate for the double kill as well. Trensiq pulls one back. Suddenly, ChromaSpace are crumbling. No front line for you. neppö into the ice block. Last line of defense. Overtime will expire, and Flashpoint holds strong.
I think ChromaSpace had a decent fight there, but when you're trading, you're at a disadvantage on offense. Their spawns are so much closer. There's really nothing else you can do there. I also want to say, neppö's on Evie. neppö is this hit scan lord we've noticed recently, but
yeah, right.
We're seeing him flexing to this Evie, and 2 and 3 so far, but I feel like his presence has been felt a little bit more than that. Still getting out damaged by both hit scans on the other side, but it's kind of an ask. I mean, look at these other champions look at the champions on both sides. It's very hard to keep up with the damage from any of them.
Yeah, please out damage a Vivian and a Strix. Please, yeah, no, I'm not going to take my chances on that one. And Ovimm, I mean, on the Lian, maybe that one's more of an even matchup with a Vivian and a Strix, but Adium as well on this Maeve has plugged away plenty of good shots. We'll have to see if Flashpoint alter their strategy a little bit. It looks like ProsperLogic just hanging back a little bit further, but it's going to be still him and Skeppi kind of grouped up together on this right-hand side, maybe looking for a pick onto Ovimm. Stealth still ringing true. Adium drops down that midnight, but Trensiq's able to trade out one kill. Goodlad protects himself a little bit with the Dome Shield, and Skeppi guns down Ovimm. Nelubka next to fall. Goodlad moves through. Final shot goes to Stormavatar in a better mid-fight for Flashpoint. Now they have a chance to move out in zone.
Who are they going to attack there? I mean, they used the Midnight and the Inflame, and they wanted to push someone, but I think they were hoping to find Prosper, but he was just waiting for it. Maybe Chroma just didn't wait long enough. Maybe they find Prosper now, but they have to rush to the point.
Shot. That's a nice shot from ProsperLogic. 99% overtime is on, so they do get a touch. ChromaSpace, so one final shot. Maybe at a fight here. You need to find some kills, though. ProsperLogic's going to do his best to not allow that to happen. Losing Barik, though, early on. Goodlad falls to the hands of Adium. That's an Enlightenment that gets largely blocked out there, so no kill just yet. Skeppi guns down the Maeve, a 1-for-1 trade, but Goodlad will be respawning just a little bit quicker. I like this patient play, though, Trensiq, from Flashpoint. Give ChromaSpace a little bit of point capture, get yourself right back and respawning. No ultimates on the table just yet, but Skeppi has found some area to start free firing. 99% for Flashpoint, 81 now for ChromaSpace. Neither team looking to give this one up. Ovimm finds the first kill on a Prosper, immediately traded out though, so long-range hit scan for long-range hit scan. Maeve rejoins the fight and immediately falls to the hands of Skeppi. So a 4 versus 2 advantage all of a sudden for Flashpoint. Overtime is on, but overtime will tilt right back in favor of Flashpoint, who take point number 2.
Great play on the flank by Flashpoint. I think Trensiq and Skeppi were the key factors there. Trensiq just made so much room. They kept looking at him. He lost his shield and still survived right in front of multiple people. They just didn't have the burst damage, I think, on top of him to actually be able to take him down, and it just made so much space for Skeppi, who's already halfway to his next usage of the Sentinels with them still active. This flank pressure, I think, is going to have to be really important because they keep trying to collapse everyone on ChromaSpace on the same target, which means there's less people to stop Trensiq and Skeppi, and you can already see right now Trensiq now moving in main with Prosper instead, and they're still getting frags.
Yeah, a much better looking start to this game for Trensiq, who just now has a double kill. ChromaSpace, 2 members left, but they're going to be just back in base. And as soon as I say on the last push that this is sort of the first most difficult choke point to break, they just keep the momentum rolling from the capture, and Flashpoint, they're already toward the second point with 1.5 minutes left.
They're going to have to play off Prosper here, and they want to actually catch him, I think, while he's split, but they have to make actually something happen during this midnight. Only 1 pick so far, but they might be able to stabilize with this hit scan that they have.
Ovimm has just not been able to get comfortable. ProsperLogic from downtown finds the final shot onto Lian, so 1-for-1 trade there. A midnight for ChromaSpace, maybe puts on the brakes on the push, but not much else on the other side. Finally, if you're ChromaSpace, some kills start to domino in your favor as stormavatar and iGoodlad do fall. And that's almost a reset back to that first choke point in a way. If you're Flashpoint, ChromaSpace are going to try to keep you pinned back as far as possible, but with 1 minute left, still plenty of time.
Honestly, I think Chroma should let Flashpoint in a little bit. If you let them in, then you can have your flankers play very, very close, have the blink in, blink out while still getting good confirmable damage. Plus, Ovimm's cross angle ends up being pretty solid then. You fight them at this range, you're just giving their Strix and their Vivian a little bit more of an advantage. And health bars, you can see they're trying to get aggressive, but the health bars go so low on Chroma because they keep peeking these super wide angles.
Yeah, Adium looks around the corner for half a second, then immediately has no health just a moment later. It'll make you think twice about using that high ground to your advantage, but some good positioning. Do plug away a couple of kills. 3 fall for Flashpoint. 2 left alive at full health, but ChromaSpace are going to have something to say about that. 10 seconds left. I think unless you're ProsperLogic or Skeppi, nobody's going to be in range to get a touch onto the card here. So ChromaSpace, despite giving up a lot of ground early on, were able to dig in their heels and tie up this game.
I think their triple DPS composition is pretty solid for the defense. I think they could have let them in a little bit more. I think they maybe misplayed it slightly, but still, hard to lose that defense, I think, with the comp that they have, especially with an Inara on the point. She's the one who can take all this damage kind of better than almost, I'd say, any other tank. Maybe Terminus, but he has a time limit. Inara just gets pocketed, and it ends up being okay. Lots of ultimates going into this mid-fight, and ChromaSpace, I think they have to see their target ahead of time, maybe be a little bit more patient, even though it might seem a little counterproductive. I think that's what they have to do. Isolate a target, then go in instead of going in and then deciding the target, because they might end up empty-handed.
Well, resilience is seemingly the name of the game here. If you're Flashpoint, all 5 members of Flashpoint picking up Tier 1 resilience, and maybe for good reason. Lots of the CC on ChromaSpace, whether it be physical or maybe just a midnight drops you down. There's the midnight. Neppö into the ice block. Nelubka finds a kill as Ovimm adds 1 more for ChromaSpace. Like dominoes, Flashpoint fall here. Igoodlad, last one alive, just trying to counteract some of that point capture for ChromaSpace. And a clean sweep. They lose 1 in Ovimm, or in Lian rather. But ChromaSpace, they regain control of this point and maybe the game.
They tried to overpower the Inara, but she had Seismic Crash. Use it in the air, you stop all your momentum, and you can survive. The most important ultimate for Flashpoint is just completely gone. They have to try to get a retake now, and it has to be Barik, because that Dome Shield needs to work, but complete isolation and Ice Mines, and a pick gets traded both ways.
That's a good combo. Neppö drops the Ice Storm, Adium jumps up, hits the daggers, 96% for ChromaSpace, but it is reset. Igoodlad back onto the point. ChromaSpace lose 1 in Ovimm. In Flashpoint, they have plenty of percentage here. You win a clean team fight, suddenly this point is yours despite being on the back foot. Run down as Nelubka. Trensiq finds his way into the back line. 96% for Flashpoint, and that's where we stall out. Tied up in this one. Igoodlad has a Dome Shield, might have to use it to secure this point. Ends up dropping it. Adium in range, but a double kill from Igoodlad as Neppö tried to swerve in and get a touch. Overtime will expire, and Flashpoint take point number 3.
And that last mid-fight, I would say, was one on the flank, and this one was one on the point, even with that very rough, I would say, con ultimate. to initiate that, Goodlad says, oh, we might lose this fight. I'm going to stand on the objective, going to get time. If we can manage to get a retake with what we have, even with poor retake potential, we got it. As soon as they do, he goes in, dome shields. They can't contest him, and they have to because of all that cap time he got at the start. And again, like I said earlier, big stack on point. Everyone gets those credits. Raise that credit advantage for capping the point even higher, and the late game looks a little bit better for Flashpoint.
Well, and this is where ChromaSpace, I think, make up as much ground as they're able to, as all 5 members of Flashpoint get cleaned up there. But if you're ChromaSpace, I mean, I think you got to be a little concerned. You pointed out the late game maybe looks better here for Flashpoint. You win point capture number 1, fail on the defense to tie up the game, and you've gotten close to capturing a point the last 2 times, but Flashpoint have been able to really lock that one down. You know, game 1 goes 7 points, Flashpoint win the game in a mid-fight. This one could be looking very similar if ChromaSpace are able to defend. They've got to change something up because the mid-fights have been working so far up for Flashpoint.
They even had a good start. I think they just weren't zoning properly for the retake, even with that 1-for-1. And Chroma, they need to be careful on this aggressive zone, I think, because if one person goes down, it is disastrous for them with how far away the spawn is. And well, Prosper is just going to walk straight through them, it looks like.
How about 4 of them going down?
Also bad, I would say. And I also don't know why Ovimm's not dying on the cart. There was no reason not to there. You're not getting away. I mean, not from the composition that Flashpoint have. So much range. At least buy a little bit more time to get us potentially a choke contest, but for now they have to pressure here. It does barely get saved, but again, I want to let this cart get close so they can actually pressure it, surround it, and make the most of their flankers.
I'm frustrated right now if I'm neppö. I move out, immediately melted, ice block, healed in the ice block, soar away, killed off nonetheless. I mean, that's to your point. There's so much damage suddenly on Flashpoint. You poke your head for a moment, and you're gonna die. Adium is the most recent to be reminded of that as he gets cleaned up. Seismic crash down from the side. Coireal maybe locks down a few. Stormavatar does end up falling here, but the gates are open for Flashpoint. Respawns are gonna be just a little bit closer for ChromaSpace, but not in time. 3 members up on the high ground, and Flashpoint roll this one in, and they take a 2-0 lead.
Coireal dying when he did was that was it. You can't lose your solo tank that close to the capture point, especially when you're running triple DPS. You just can't do it. Maybe he's a step to the right. He's not in the easy line of sight from Prosper. Prosper has to commit a little bit harder for the damage. Maybe that makes a difference, but either way, he has to play his life a little bit harder. Still didn't die too much, but dying in those crucial moments, I think, is what made the difference.
Yeah, it's a rough game for Ovimm on that Lian. I mean, he had 11 kills, but 13 deaths, and I think a large part of that is due to a point you brought up. You know, Lian can sit back and do some good long-range damage, but Flashpoint, they just had more damage more consistently for maybe a little bit longer of a range, and nobody from ChromaSpace, especially on the defenses, felt comfortable poking their head out.
I will say, looking at the deaths, I think that ChromaSpace had a decent idea, at least in some of the fights. Stormavatar died a lot, and he's definitely the most diveable target, I would say, on that team.
Yeah.
Vivian has the shield, Prosper has the stealth. You don't really want to dive a tank most of the time. So they had the right idea, just Flashpoint had too much team sustain and self-sustain for them to actually find anybody.
And I think Trensiq, this was a big... I mean, they win game 1, but I still think a big comeback game for Trensiq on this con. You know, much better looking. I think his Ruckus in game 1 certainly wasn't bad, but I think this was an actively good, maybe save and overpower to performance from Trensiq on this con. So I like that, not only for helping Flashpoint win, but I think from a confidence standpoint, being able to do what Trensiq was able to do on the con this game, that'll at least mentally give him a little bit more confidence in this set.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think other than that one overpower where he decided to give the Inara a free lift to the best seismic crash of her life, I think he was really solid pushing on those sides. I think it was tough for them to deal with him. They needed to rotate more people over, but they were already so focused on diving into the backline that they weren't actually able to. So it was just the healer panicking. Just there's no way I can stop this pressure from Trensiq, especially because he's always backed up by a hit scan.
Well, up to this point, you look at picks and bans as well. ChromaSpace have taken that Viktor off the table pretty consistently, but the 1-2 punch one more time that Vivian and the Strix just seems to be working here if you're Flashpoint. Obviously, there's a lot to discuss, and, you know, with 4 bans and plenty of viable champions, you're going to be giving up something. But just a quick thought, do you think ChromaSpace have to consider taking away the Strix or the Vivian in the next picks and bans?
I think it could be a decent choice, but did you give up ROM for it? Do you
Right,
give up Viktor
right.
for it? There's so many things you have to ban against these console DPSs that you just pick the lesser of two evils.
Well, Flashpoint in Game 1, take it in 7 points. Game 2, take it in 6 points. If this trend continues, they'll be taking Game 3 as well. Find out if they can do it. Stick around right after this break. Welcome back, everybody. You're still watching the Paladins Pro Circuit Week number 2. We're still over in Europe, where Flashpoint has a 2-0 lead over ChromaSpace. My name is Dolson. Kresnik's still with me. Before we jump back in the game, I feel like I have to give just a moment to spotlight the brilliant T-shirt that you have on. The game was called TKO.
So this was the
excellent designer
our favorite T-shirt when we were playing TKO at HRX this year, and I didn't have a chance to go buy any merchandise, so I figured might as well just get a custom-made exclusive. There's no other way to get this shirt at HRX 2019 to remember my time there. DreamHack Atlanta.
That is top tier. I mean, arguably one of the best shirts I've maybe ever seen. I did one of the two. I can't remember if I drew the HRX 2019 or did the wording down at the bottom, but I had some hand.
I think only my handwriting is this bad. I think it might be my drawing. Your text would be my guess.
My caption. Either way, I had to just take a moment to give you a little highlight on that shirt because I just think it's so great, and you can see the HRX. So I had to take a moment just to really take in all of its wonder. But back to the set, we are in game number 3. Stone Keep is where we will head, with Flashpoint in 1 point more convincing fashion take game number 2 on Frozen Guard. So you look at Stone Keep in a composition that Flashpoint have been running in the first 2 games with that Strix and that Vivian. Stone Keep is absolutely another map where I think that could work.
I think it works anywhere. I mean, if you give me any map and I have Strix Vivian as my DPS, I'm never really too unhappy, but
right.
ChromaSpace apparently will be unhappy enough where they're going to be banning it, not want to take it for themselves. I'm not sure, since their first pick, if this means they're going to try to take some of the characters that they've been banning. Otherwise, maybe Viktor ends up being their first pick, so they can just completely take away things from Flashpoint, but Flashpoint want to starve them too. Both those flankers they took last game out off the board as well.
And that was kind of some of the saving grace that ChromaSpace had when neppö or Adium snuck away a quick pick here and there. That was really where ChromaSpace were able to thrive. So I think taking away the Evie, taking away the Maeve, smart roll here from Flashpoint. ChromaSpace are going to lock in that Viktor. So you ban out the Vivian, take the Viktor for themselves. As you point out, they're going to kind of bleed that pool dry. Krez, we have seen one Tiberius, and it was in NA last week, and it kind of fell flat.
I think that was because of the comp, though. I mean, they had a dive comp, and Tiberius was the diver. They were like, all right, go. He wasn't even running the damage on landing card. It's not good, but if they had to make it work, you have to do something like that. You got to go out of the box. I don't think that was the fault of Tiberius. I expect to see him a little bit more today, and I think this is a great map for him. Some of those bounce angles you can set up. You can dismount people from space. You can be so far away and knock people off of their mounts, deny a lot of ground, and the fact that he can give you a 50% slow for like 6 seconds is easily one of the most obnoxious things I've had to play against ever to date.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to now maybe get a better look into Tiberius and what he can do, because he's potent in the right scenarios. I mean, I've seen it in my casual games, in my ranked games. I mean, a Tiberius in the right standpoint can absolutely make you pay. So we'll see if Flashpoint can forge that one into victory here. Androxus locked in one more time from ChromaSpace. Viktor and Andra, that's a pretty potent damage duo there for Chroma. Flashpoint looking for one final pick. Will be the Strix one more time, so they stick with the Strix, obviously forced to move away from hit scam between Viktor and Vivian. They've got the Tiberius to pair with the Sniper this time around.
Also, Ovimm has decided he's never playing tank again. ChromaSpace decide to go another solo tank strategy. And I think they have a lot of poke this time, but if Flashpoint just get on top of someone, again, it might be a divey strategy with the Tiberius, which I'm not the happiest about, but if they can fight them in the open, then Tiberius and Strix will both be able to support here on Stone Keep. Gonna have to see where they want to play. I'm gonna guess Church is gonna be a huge fight here, because if you can play outside with your composition and lock them inside the keep, you're gonna get a lot more positioning across the mid-fight.
Well, hey, let's see if Flashpoint are able to clean this one up. It is Luminary Jenos, crippling roots on that Grover. You know, a lot of the times we've seen this double healer, it's been with Ying on that focusing lens, who's been able to provide a little bit of extra healing, but also a pretty decent amount of damage. Do you sort of get a similar vibe between a Grover and a Jenos paired together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Grover is the reason he's being picked as a healer isn't because of his healing, it's because of his damage and CC. He has decent healing, so it kind of makes up for it, but having both is important. So having him in that off healer position while getting Luminary boosted, I think is actually kind of huge. He'll be able to do really good poke, countering out potentially the backlines on the side of Flashpoint. Still gonna have to make it work though. Exploding Blade, interestingly from Skeppi. More damage up front, but less CC. CC's not what you need essentially against a triple DPS composition.
Watch out, Androxus has made his way all the way to the backline, and ProsperLogic was waiting there like a lamb to the slaughter as Ovimm gets first blood in this one. Flashpoint have found themselves 30% on the point, but three-man bowling ball just moving themselves forward. Goodlad cleans up Nelubka here. Skeppi under duress as Ovimm is able to get the second kill of the game for ChromaSpace here, but stormavatar trades out a couple. 30% on the point for Flashpoint. ChromaSpace touched their toe just for a little bit. 21% here for them. And despite a good start, ChromaSpace are pushed back.
Even still, though, they can poke pretty effectively from back here.
Yep.
Solid position, I think, for the surround and retake, but looks like, okay, they're not going inside Keep. Keep would be really tough for them. They just need to fight this Inara, and that pick on Prosper is going to be a great opening.
Neppö's going to move himself to the high ground. Prosper hasn't been comfortable once this game. Adium gets the kill this time. Good shot from Nelubka. Gets rid of Skeppi. 90% for Flashpoint is where it'll stand for now as ChromaSpace have carved themselves out a decent advantage here. And they have a Whirlwind early on in this one. First round of ultimates are going to be online for ChromaSpace here, so some utility to zone with if need be. That's some good lockdown on the opposite side from ChromaSpace. Whirlwind just to top off some of those health bars, but Inflame from Flashpoint is going to push them forward. Trensiq into the Hexafire, has to cancel it. Nobody in range to target that one. Ovimm a double kill, neppö with one. Adium drops down. Overtime is on here if you're Flashpoint, but it's really just Goodlad at this point. Ovimm on the Androxus, finding his shots, and ChromaSpace, they're looking like they're going to take point number one.
Dave, other than a fever dream, did you ever think you would say Ovimm Androxus triple kill?
No, you could hear me trip up a little bit there as well. I'm like, wait, there's an Inara in this game, and there's a Khan, and Ovimm should be playing either of them, but it's the Androxus, I guess. Yeah, no, not at all.
I still think he's showing how flexible he is, though. Ovimm has, I think, performed decently well on every DPS he's had to play so far. This tank line, this comp, excuse me, that Chroma have is working pretty effectively so far because of these outside fights. The fact that Flashpoint are trying to hold inside is making things so much easier for Chroma because they just get a DPS on every door and Flashpoint can't make any pressure. Especially with these ults charged, Overpower is going to make things even easier for them, and I think Flashpoint's going to have to feed down to the cart now.
Yeah, bye-bye Trensiq, everyone getting involved from ChromaSpace here. 9 seconds is the longest death timer. ProsperLogic just now back and respawning. One more burst is all they needed on stormavatar to get rid of that Furia. A-load moving itself in. Trensiq, he might have to touch down onto this cart, but he's so low. neppö's going to round the corner, but now Goodlad is back into the fight to try to stall this one out. Skeppi, stormavatar, they both combine for one. Tiberius soars up above as Goodlad chips away another kill in this fight. Nelubka's just going to take the easy way out. With 1 minute and 10 seconds left, Flashpoint can breathe, but not for long.
Saw some of the Tiberius combat trance damage coming into effect there. Adium tried to use the Whirlwind, and then combat trance from Skeppi, there's just, it's so much damage. It burns straight through that Whirlwind, unable to keep the rest of the team sustained. So good to see how Tiberius is working out, what they're thinking to use with him. Chroma might be looking to go now with how aggressive Ovimm is, especially forward, but he's going ahead of his whole team. No one's able to help him right now, and he lost all his dashes for nothing.
He gets plugged once by ProsperLogic and has to use his final dash to get out of that one. 30 seconds left, so Flashpoint maybe have bought themselves enough time, but ChromaSpace turn around a couple of kills. Both frontliners gone from Flashpoint. The damage dealers and the healers are going to have to jump down, but they are not going to in time. ChromaSpace brute force it in. They had about 30 seconds to spare, but they take a 2-0 lead.
Tanks on Flashpoint struggling a little bit, I would say, against the triple DPS. It's hard to tell exactly what you can get away with. Everyone in this game is just so used to playing against 2 tank, 2 DPS that when you play against these crazy comps that have all this sustain, all this damage, tanks just aren't able to really figure out where they should stand. They go down first, and that makes that hold basically impossible for Flashpoint, with health bars more or less not there. Tiberius, no burst sustain. Prosper only has the stealth, and that's not going to last them a while as they go. Flashpoint here, they have to play outside. I don't think they can really play inside keep unless it's just to set up an immediate dive, but Strix Tiberius isn't a dive tank, is it not a dive DPS line? How do they even support them? They can't, and here they are again, isolated in keep and just waiting to get surrounded.
Well, at a minimum, you'll hope that ProsperLogic doesn't get flanked and immediately killed by Ovimm on the Androxus this time, and I think that being the case, it'll at least be a small improvement for Flashpoint here. They continue to kind of play a similar style, moving in, dancing around the point. Trensiq drops down into the Hexafire. Yeah, there were a lot of targets in front. He has skeppi. He turns around the damage. 3 kills out of nowhere on this Tiberius. He's got some burst, and he can make it count. ChromaSpace, 3 members down, and Flashpoint, they might just take their first point of the game.
Oh god, everyone's gonna clip me talking about how bad I think Tigron's Fury is now. Oh no. Oh, it's the first time I've ever seen it be effective, and Adium can't make the whirlwind happen. Look how desperate this is for Chroma.
Yeah, that is a dream situation there for skeppi, right? I mean, that is maybe exactly what you picked that for. ChromaSpace get triple killed by skeppi, now double killed by skeppi. The Tiberius making it count when it's important. Flashpoint, with fast cap on their side, are able to grab themselves point number 1 in game 3.
Tiberius pressure up top, I thought it would be tough, and I think Chroma were kiting pretty well. They just weren't spread out enough. They all clump up, and that's what makes that explosive blade as effective as it needs to be. You see him still clumped here. This might open things up for Trensiq if they don't see him there, but he doesn't end his emote in time, getting grabbed. The pressure from Chroma on the rest of the team, Trensiq wasn't enough of a distraction to save them.
That's good stuff there from Trensiq, if nothing else, to make me laugh. But now ChromaSpace has carved out a decent little chunk of territory here on the defense. But, you know, I think you have to look back at that skeppi triple kill. I mean, that is like the one situation where something absurd like that happens, right? I mean, he's been good but not great, I think, up to that point in this game. And then suddenly a flurry of kills really puts him on the map here on Stonekeep.
That is part of what Tiberius is kind of good at, having those quick swing plays, and he's the master of 1v1s. Tiberius should win almost every 1v1 if he has combat trance up. So, well, I should expect to see that a lot if teams have tried to fight him, but most of the time you're not going to try to dive this Tiberius. You're going to keep your distance because you know that combat trance is going to let him win everything. You kill everyone else and then you deal with them. I gotta say though, this ChromaSpace composition kind of faltering here. People running into the back line, so they just push everyone else. The supports go down, and Flashpoint aren't moving the cart right now, but ChromaSpace have to spend ultimates just to stabilize.
Yeah, that's the overpower. That one's important. So you lose Trensiq, neppö just now back and respawning from the ChromaSpace base. Flashpoint are, I mean, call it 5 ultimates up right now. When Trensiq gets back to this fight, a few pot shots will chip away at that 7% that's missing. Overpower is a big one, but a whirlwind of barrage through time and space, great from range. Ovimm, I was gonna say, he could use that accursed arm to plug some damage, but ProsperLogic finds the angle, finds the shot. Flashbang doesn't find much for him. Goodlad gets cleaned up as well, so it's a 1-for-1 trade here. ChromaSpace playing that high ground with 10 seconds left.
This is so good by Prosper, taking this space right now. He walks in, he knows that line, the angle that the tank isn't watching, and he gets free shots. Look at this. This is the weakness of single tank. They can't cover everything.
Prosper just takes the right side of this map, and he hits his second shot of this fight. Bye-bye, Nelubka. Coireal is gone as well. Overtime is on, but it's really just down to Ovimm, who's able to drop down, gets the kill on a skeppi before trading out his own life. neppö may have to sprint down and contest the cart, but Trensiq makes no mistake this time. What a couple of shots from ProsperLogic to tie up this game.
So, Dave,
all right,
the first game was a 4-3.
Yep.
The second game was a 4-2.
Yep.
Can't be 4-1 anymore. It's been broken.
You're right.
They managed to save
So the script is out the window.
The script is out the window. I don't know what's going to happen now. Everything. I was operating purely on the assumption of that.
Right, so we build back up at this point. So ChromaSpace are going to win 4-2, and then they're going to win 4-3. So then we have, you know, equality balance on both sides, and then I don't know, game 5. I don't know what you do at that point to break the balance. But you're right. I was expecting Flashpoint to continue the trend, and at least recent form, if they had done this at the beginning of the game, might have cleaned it up in 4-1 fashion. Oh, nice long-range shot there from Adium onto ProsperLogic. That Strix has been a fiend in the backline over the last couple of minutes. Another big loss, but Hexafire barrel stuffs Nelubka. That healer wants to be anywhere else but there, and Trensiq turns around for his second kill of this fight, but Coireal does the same now for ChromaSpace. But it's ChromaSpace who are maybe looking a little bit worse for wear here. Burns the Whirlwind just to save the life of Coireal, and that's a big team fighting ultimate that's no longer up.
He got pulled back too. Like, he wasn't under that much pressure, and all they do is equalize and keep, which isn't even where they really want to be. They want to be playing outside and poking, but Flashpoint are actually taking this advantage. Seismic Crash in on top of them.
And it drops them down as Skeppi is going to move himself back in. You can't count on a miracle triple kill every single time, but they might need one now as Goodlad and Trensiq both fall. So no more front line for Flashpoint. Coireal with his second double of this mid-fight. But I think what's important here, Kresnik, no fast cap for either team, and nobody's really been on the point. It's only 33% now for ChromaSpace, so Flashpoint have an opportunity to get back in.
You can see this pressure right now from Chroma, though, trying to stop them from doing that, but they weren't looking main, and Inara walks through taking very little damage. All those cooldowns being saved is actually big, but no Tiberius now for any miracles, and they have to use the Earthen Guard on point.
It's the overpower used onto Skeppi. Barrage now popped for ChromaSpace, and maybe plug away some damage, but Ovimm is going to swoop his way into the back line. Reversal is up, plugs away just a little bit of damage as neppö cleans up Goodlad, and ProsperLogic back on the respawn, hits the shot onto Ovimm, exactly what he needed there. A 1-for-1 trade, missing the Androxus for just a little bit longer. Inara for Flashpoint will be back in range, but they move out of range just as overtime melts away, and ChromaSpace, they're able to take point number 3.
That could have been so good if Trensiq touched the objective. He dashed straight over it, doing everything except the one thing he had to do. Super unfortunate, and they might have had a chance for the retake with the Strix in the position that he was, but for now, they have to back up. They gave Chroma the potential to turn this around, especially if they die, as stormavatar has to use the Inflame to save his own life.
2 minutes left, but an Inflame is going to start off this defense relatively well for Flashpoint as Ovimm falls one more time. Skeppi has been identified after his triple kill, and ChromaSpace have done a good job of cleaning him up. Now it's been really on Trensiq and ProsperLogic to find the big flashy plays. Trensiq with a good Hexafire, I think, gave Flashpoint a fighter's chance in that last mid-fight, but ChromaSpace disengaged well enough, find some ultimates, and take point number 3. But Flashpoint, I mean, they feel comfortable enough fighting right here towards the mid that this is where they're going to take those engagements, and looks like they may be able to burn a little bit of time, but another Whirlwind might keep things going. Double Seismic Crash down, sets up the fight for Flashpoint here. Skeppi has to dash his way away, but neppö is going to lock that one down. 1 minute and 10 seconds left, and this payload is going to continue to move.
And it was a good cleanup, I think, by Chroma that they can manage to get back on top of it. You mentioned that Hexa, and I actually wanted to bring up why I think that was so good. It was used to immediately remove point cap from the field. Since both backlines were up, nobody could get on the objective. So just since they had someone on, drop down, get rid of the only person who wants to cap, and then run away. Just equalize it immediately and use that to take your advantage. Speaking of advantages, though, Ovimm kills Trensiq on the flank side, and one tank down, even with Inara up. 5v4 is not going to be very easy, especially with the ultimates that I think Chroma's going to be willing to spend.
Well, it's 30 seconds here. Barrage, first ultimate used through time and space from Nelubka. Could soften up some of that large health pool of the front line for Flashpoint here. 20 seconds remaining. This is do or die now for Flashpoint, getting a kill onto neppö. That's a big swing, and this one, Coireal drops as well. Suddenly, Nelubka feeling a bit uncomfortable here. Skeppi swoops through, his second double kill of the game. That one might have just saved this defense and tied the game.
Skeppi actually had huge pressure there, too, using all the charges from Tiberius ult to dash through and just distract them and not really be able to be shot. I think it was a pretty big deal. He had 2 people out of the fight on his own, and This is what we like to see. The attempted point blank through time and space. And neppö, I was going to say, if he dies to this, I don't know what to say. Still, 2 equalized by Trensiq there from that. And again, big deal. Not only does he take out the back line, stopping the rest of his team from capping, he gets rid of the person who's trying to sit on top of the objective. Tiberius, I think, so far has been doing pretty all right, too. 90k damage, a little bit above Ovimm, who I think has had a pretty solid performance so far in this game.
And I think you have to give a quick highlight as well over to Adium on that Grover. I asked if he was going to be able to supply a little bit of extra damage, and he certainly has, up above some of the other frontliners in this game. This is an important mid-fight. Flashpoint take the entire set with a mid-fight win here. ChromaSpace are going to be able to take their first game of set number 1 of this PPC Week 2 day. See how this one plays out. Skeppi moves himself to the high ground. Trensiq still mounted, but Ovimm is as well. Plenty of damage plugged away in the back line. Ovimm has to dash his way through, and Trensiq is just going to take that as the small advantage that it is. You force Ovimm into an uncomfortable position. Both teams playing somewhat tense here, Kresnik.
Neither one wants to really make a move, but Flashpoint's capping, so Chroma have to make something happen now. And Coireal's losing this fight. This angle from Prosper is huge, but look, no one's pressuring Prosper. He's just free-firing here. Ovimm's just not committing.
Oh, and Ovimm commits, but catches a shot to the dome. 3 straight from ProsperLogic. Ovimm back to base. Now the inflame is the go button Flashpoint might need. Nelubka, see you later. Skeppi gets 1. Trensiq gets 2. 75% for Flashpoint. The zone is on. ChromaSpace are going to have to sprint their way back to the point if they want to get this one. Skeppi uses the ultimate. The touch might be there from Ovimm through time and space to plug some damage, but no one touches Flashpoint. They take the game and take the set.
That pressure from Trensiq literally changed the game. Not only was his Hexafire massive at the very end there, but just him stopping Ovimm that first time made Ovimm so tentative. He didn't want to go in, and Prosper just owned anybody who tried to play in the entire center of the map.
Yeah, Ovimm said, all right, I'm going to try to pressure you now, and Prosper hits 3 straight, finalizing 1 on maybe the back foot of Ovimm as he's made his way through. 3 clean shots start off that fight, and I love the immediate reaction there at the end from the rest of Flashpoint. A kill onto Ovimm, immediate inflame, immediate Hexafire, all the ultimate storm out, and you pointed it out. Flashpoint were just idly capping through the first couple, maybe a minute or so of that mid-fight before any kills happened. And once you find a single pick, that's all you need.
That's that synergy advantage that I think Flashpoint are going to be relying on as they move forward. I mean, huge damage, too. The fact that Prosper dropped to 141, a little bit more than neppö, and Viktor has many cooldowns that do damage. Strix has gun. Still able to keep up with it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I would rely on that. If that's the damage he's doing, I would definitely be relying on that.
Well, and I think, what we saw out of Prosper there towards the end is a lot of what we figured Flashpoint were missing last week when he had to step out. I mean, the consistent damage, especially on the Strix, played him in all 3 of the matches here today up against ChromaSpace. That was an important swing, I think. I mean, you not only look at this game, yeah, it was the coattail or the back foot on that final shot. I mean, you take a zoom out here, even from this game. I mean, this is a confident swing for Flashpoint. But, a team that the last time we saw them, they were riding high after taking some maps and pushing some, at the time, PPL teams close in that qualifier week. It would have been tough for them to go 0-2 to start off the PPC. So I think not only good for them confidence-wise here in this specific day, but as far as just maybe getting the ball rolling for Flashpoint, I think not only getting the win, but a 3-0 is big for them.
Yeah, I think Flashpoint kind of just had Chroma figured out the way that Chroma wanted to play. The solo tank, 0 tank even. I think they just had it on lock. Must have been good scrims. Their double hit scan backline just shut down everything that Chroma wanted to do.
Flashpoint feeling good after this one. There are your European matchups for the day. Flashpoint and D69 both snagged themselves 3-0s. All Business over 5 randoms. Just 1 map dropped there for All Business. And that's kind of the shift we're maybe looking out for in these early few weeks. D69 still on top. I think no surprise there. But look at that. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Technically win-loss-wise, all tied up. Map differential is going to break that tie. But you look at 2 through 5, Kresnik, and they're neck and neck.
Super contested region, too. And 5 randoms, I think, with a recent change, getting rid of Spunky, maybe some time to gel after that, but we know they can be competitive too. We know that they have the players that can do that, some ex-PPL. So every single team in this region, even the ones without wins, are all going to be brawling with each other throughout the year.
Yeah, at the moment it seems like who has to roll through D69 at some point. They're back-to-back 3-0s here in this region. Something I am going to keep your eye on, though, and myself and everyone else, keep your eye on D69. I mean, right now they look unstoppable, but what we've seen out of other teams in this region is they can compete. But can they compete with the best? We'll have to find out when these teams match up against D69. That's all we got for you in Europe today. Kresnik and I are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Finch and Gormizer, they're going to take you to Brazil.